Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say it's so great to be with you here in Washington County. It's been a really, really great day. We have been able to visit a lot of different communities across the county from, let's see, Caney Valley, Copan, Dewey, Bartlesville. I feel like somebody else that we're missing. Copan, did I say that? Okay. And it has been really very special to also be a part of the Educator Hall of Fame at Bartlesville, where they were really recognizing lots of years of service that we know some great champions for kids were being honored and well-deserved honor for sure. So I just want to say how great it is to be here and to be welcomed, and I am grateful to be a part of the Democratic Party, and it is truly an honor to get to be with you today. I also wanted to just say that my husband would love to be here. He is a judge and is prohibited from being in any kind of political event. So I just want you to know that he's fully supportive. Jerry, my husband, sends his regards. And also I'm a mom of 4 grown kids, and just 9 weeks ago, welcomed our very first grandchild, and we have a little granddaughter. And so this is truly life-changing. And for those of you who are part of that club, I am grateful to be a part of it as well. So I just want to first start by saying that my husband, Jerry, and I both know the value of faith and family and hard work and the common sense Oklahoma values that a lot of folks like us grew up with. But frankly, I don't see a lot of common sense right now in Oklahoma, and that needs to change. I also know that instead of working together, Governor Stitt is sowing chaos and division. He would rather stoke that division than work with people, and he is pitting neighbor against neighbor, and that is really awful and corrosive for our state. He is frankly running our state into the ground. He cares more about prizing political, scoring political points than he does working with people. He chooses self-dealing instead of the public good. And it is something that I have had a front row seat to witness over these few years that he's been in office, and it has to change. And I am convinced that it's clear we can do better, and we must. So I just want to tell you that running for governor was not something that I expected to do. I always wanted to be, you guessed it, a teacher. And I did not expect to be going down this path. I loved my teachers. They were my heroes, and they still are. I was that kid who struggled to read. I had dyslexia. I inherited that from my dad, and my dad was a successful man, and he was an electrician, and he also was the son of an electrician who was a first-generation American. And it was that opportunity in a trade that boosted our family into the middle class. Also, I know that it was my desire to be a teacher was, just so you know, it was a degree that didn't come easy. Actually, that path was a little different for me. I was the first in my family to go to college. No one on either side of my family, no cousins, no, extended family member that we knew anything about had ever gone to college. And so I did set out to go. And I was a bit ill-prepared and also somewhat directionless. And so it was something that I want you to know about me. I dropped out of college. Like a lot of people, I dropped out. I got married, and I left to go support my husband, who was pursuing a seminary degree in Texas. And it was in that time of putting him through and getting him started in that degree that I began to realize I needed to finish what I started. And then we were in that place of having to figure it out, like a lot of families. They have to navigate something they really didn't know a lot about, and we had to find a way. So that way for me came as someone who then we worked in the college there in Texas as residence hall director. My husband and I moved in with over 300 to 400 male athletes. And that paved the way for me to be able to finish my education. And my husband did laundry in the basement for the next couple of years, and I didn't. So there was a perk I never expected when you live with male athletes. My husband took care of it for me. But when we look at what our state faces, and we know that we have a lot that reminds me of another time in history in Oklahoma, recent history. In 2014, I saw that our state was headed in the wrong direction in education. And I stepped up to challenge someone in my own party, Janet Barisi. She could also self-fund. And she was someone who was listening to others outside the state and not Oklahoma educators, not Oklahoma families. And I knew that it was worth fighting for, and I did, and I beat her. And I won all 77 counties in Oklahoma in a primary, and she came in third. We can do this again. We can win, and there is a path to win. And I am convinced that just like then, today, Governor Stitt is driving the state into the ground. He is pandering to extremism. He is reading from a national script. He is not someone who cares about rural Oklahoma. He does not care about our families who are struggling, our families who have many needs that are going unmet, who deserve to have something better. And so I believe it is the time to stand up. It is worth fighting for, and I'm going to do that. So I want to talk to you about 3 areas. And the first is education. A great education is the backbone of a great economy. And we have got to take seriously our teacher shortage. We must provide our kids a strong, robust public education, one that's well-rounded, one that includes the arts. We saw examples of that today in Washington County, particularly in Caney Valley. And it was extraordinary what they are doing there in a small but mighty way. With a small enrollment, but they are giving those kids something you would see in a large metro area. And it's impressive and something we should be proud of. That can happen in a lot of places if we have the teachers. But if we don't have the teachers, our kids will continue to suffer. And Governor Stitt has pushed in his state of the state a voucher scheme that will kill our rural schools. And when you kill our rural schools, you kill our rural communities. They are, in many cases, our largest employer in that town. And when they dry up, we lose not just economically, but our kids lose. Those people who are home, those generations of families that attended that school that know one another. We can't let that happen. And in Oklahoma, we have a very strong, equitable funding formula. So what that means is even if there's not a private school near you, your child in public school will lose out. Every child in Oklahoma will get less because of a voucher scheme. And it is worth saying no. In fact, hell no. We're not going to take it, and we're going to stand up and fight. And this has not ended. Even though Governor Stitt was denied the Senate passing that, it is not over. And in fact, the Senate president, or pro tem, Greg Treat, said that this next election will determine if that is going to win, if this vote will pass with vouchers, and that Governor Stitt winning re-election means we will have vouchers next year. So let's be very careful about that and continue to fight. This will be, I think, a race that will be determining a lot of things besides vouchers, but it is worth noting. I think it's also important that we recognize that the world outside the classroom impacts the world inside our schoolhouse. So we have to address those things that are hurting our families. Addiction, not having mental health support, not having access to rural hospitals, nursing homes that are close by. We also know that we need good jobs, and good jobs are not something that we have seen grow, and that's got to change, and it can. The economy and infrastructure is that second area I want to mention. Yes, our schools are important for business to thrive and for companies to be drawn to invest in our state. But we also know that we have to have a governor who stands with students, who stands with farmers and ranchers, who stands with small business, not billionaires on Wall Street. We have to have a governor who is also a partner with our sovereign tribal nations. And we do not see that with Governor Stitt. Governor Stitt cares more about fighting McGirt with the Supreme Court than fighting for jobs. He cares more about self-dealing than he cares about the public good. And it is time to say no and deny him a second term. I also know that when we talk about infrastructure, we have to not just fix those potholes from the past, but fashion together infrastructure for the future and a plan to get us there. I have, as I mentioned, 4 grown kids and 3 are married, and all of them are now back in Oklahoma, starting their own families here and even setting down roots and starting businesses. And we know that it is important that we have kids that will return home, that they have good jobs here that will attract them. In order to do that, we're going to have broadband internet connectivity all across the state. It has to be as common as electricity and running water. And it is time that that happen, and our kids can't wait, our families can't wait. Continued education is a part of that, and the ability and freedom to work remotely. These are all aspects of a thriving economy, and enough of the excuses. We have to do it now. In the final thing is in healthcare. My vision for our state is where Oklahomans have quality, affordable healthcare, no matter where you live. Governor Stitt supports privatizing managed care, which is actually going to take away Oklahoma's freedom to have the decisions made between a trusted doctor and the patient. I stand with patients and doctors, not with government overreach. And Governor Stitt needs to butt out. And he needs to also not siphon away the 15% he would take off the top of these funds the voters said in Medicaid expansion belong to those most needy, and siphon that away for profit. Instead, we can do that for 4% with our Oklahoma Health Commission. And that is not something that we need to allow him to win on. Also, I think that we need a leader who will listen to experts, who believes in science, who isn't going to be swayed by the political winds that blow. The bottom line is Oklahoma families and businesses need stability. Stitt has chosen hyper-partisan politics, self-dealing, as I mentioned, over common sense. He has failed to bring us together. He chooses chaos and division at every turn. Stitt doesn't care about our public schools. He doesn't care about our families or our communities. The problems we face are foreign to him. And in fact, like the pandemic, he would choose to believe they don't exist. His ego makes him vulnerable. And his favorabilities have tanked. In fact, just yesterday, a new public poll was published, and he moved from 47th in the rankings of approval to 43rd. And that has also represented Republican voters in that mix as well, not just a general ballot. Governor Stitt should be worried. He should be worried about this election because of the people in this room. He should be worried because of educators who have said, we're not going to go away silently. We're not going to just leave. And many have. But there are those, just like there was when there was a teacher walkout, that marched to the Capitol to fight for their kids, that are still today ready to fight again, who will not give up on the children in their class, not give up on the families in their communities, We have to solve our teacher shortage, or we will see downstream the symptoms of that not being solved in fewer engineers, fewer nurses, fewer healthcare workers, and business suffering. We know that I am digging deep every day. I'm asking you to dig deep as Democrats and believe we can win. I'm also here asking for your vote, which is the most sacred thing that I can ask for. For those of you who will support financially, I need your help. And I thank those of you who already have. We need to understand that it is within our power to change this political landscape. I remember thinking, well, this is just how it is in Oklahoma. And I caught myself and I was ashamed. It doesn't have to be that way. We can change this, but we have to appreciate that it is going to take a candidate like myself, who has already been on the ballot twice recently, who is still working right now with 80,000 school personnel, that is also a partner already today with our sovereign nations in my current role. And I am someone who will not give up. I have been tested. I have got the battle scars, and I am not afraid, and I will not be bullied. And there is too much to fight for. And so I ask also that we do this together. And that path is one that we will fight for our kids in schools, our families in our communities, and each of us that do have that next generation as grandparents, we fight for them. With that, I thank you for the chance to get to be here tonight. And I thank you for being together on what is today, Thursday evening. I know there is so much going on, and I know that you love this state and that it is worth fighting for. And I thank you for your leadership. All right, with that, if there's any, thank you. All right. And if you have, if there's any way that you want to reach out to us or talk more, I would love to answer questions that you have. I would love to hear from you, those issues most important to you as well, and that we fight hard together. We can win this. Thank you. Yes.
If somebody did want to reach out to you, had a question or something,
yes.
How could they or how should they?
Thank you. I appreciate that. The easiest way is, on our website, there is a contact us, and that goes straight to our campaign manager. And we see that every day. Like, that's the fastest way to reach us. It's just info@joy4ok.com, and we will see it and answer. The other is that you can, I think do we have any business cards with us here with contact? I don't know if anybody's got any. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, that's okay. We have lost some of our, we've run out of some of our things today, but we'll also, I have your and I have envelopes. That's exactly right. So I appreciate that. We'll be having signs. So we're getting ready to launch. The new, the time for signing up to actually file is coming mid-April. And that's when we have been raising money, building support, and it is going to take bipartisan support to win. This is a very important thing that we know is part of the strategy. We have a great team here in the state, but also at the national level that have won with Democratic candidates in red states. And we have a lot of work to do, but we've got a great team to do it, and we're expanding that, and we hope you'll be a part of that as well. Yes.
So you were talking about education before and teachers. And
yes.
I am a former teacher myself. I came back to Oklahoma, or I stayed in Oklahoma with Teach for America.
Oh yeah, excellent. Yes. Ellen Dollarhide was my campaign manager. She stopped what she was doing, became a campaign manager for me, and then did you know she's getting ready? Her husband just got sent to the Pentagon.
Yes,
yeah, she just emailed me. Yeah.
But having been a teacher, in the classroom, I stayed on 3 years after my commitment, but things got really hard. I mean, I can understand people who have been in the classroom for 30 years and want to finish their careers out, or who are close to retiring. But how do you bring teachers like me who left the classroom, or friends like Ellen who now left the state? How do you bring them back home? Because
Thank you.
I don't know that we fix education unless we solve that problem.
Right.
So I'm curious what your ideas are.
Yeah, so we asked teachers. We commissioned a poll of 30,000 teachers who kept their certification, but are not teaching in an Oklahoma classroom. 30,000. Okay, think about that. Let that sink in. Just in the state. Okay, and so we polled them and we asked, we had 29,000 personal emails. And so we asked them, why did you leave and what will it take to get you back? And what we found was that pay was a big factor. And so that helped us take that to justify the first pay raise in 2018. But the other piece to that was that they did not, and then we did subsequent polls, okay? And the group that answered was between 7,000 and 8,000. So it was a really strong poll. We asked about 20 questions and did focus groups as well. And what we found was they were describing that teachers through the cuts in our state were their team, tutors, reading specialists, counselors, psychologists, aides were stripped away through cuts, and they were shouldering it alone. And it was unbearable. And so we have to add people and pay to be competitive. And I want to put this in perspective for you on where we are nationally and why we have to get this right. This is why we need an education governor. Nothing else is going to improve until we get this right. So we are 47th lowest in the nation in per pupil expenditure. So that means all local taxes, ad valorem, as federal, as well as the state aid that comes from the state, okay? All that combined, we are the 47th lowest per pupil. That's why when the governor talks in his voucher scheme about, oh, we're gonna now let all the private school kids get a piece of that. They're gonna take money and go pay some tuition, and it's a discount. They're not paying tuition fully. What that would do is it would introduce out of the same pot of 700,000 kids, another 20 to 30,000 more that we just split that, divided that into smaller pieces. That's just year one, because that's with nobody leaving, because it introduced people who had never been in public school, and it started them with a voucher. Do you see? On top of that, you had a portion that comes off the top just to manage it out of the treasurer's office. So that's a for-profit education management company that is also going to take a piece off the top. And then whatever is left, that's the kids in public school, and then that's their little piece. So the year that goes in effect, the year prior to that was the best year in education funding we'll ever have, because it's only going to get worse unless you grow the whole economy, right? So our kids deserve to have an education budget that reflects the priority that education is number one in Oklahoma. We are one of a few states, maybe 4 or 5 states, that have a constitutional obligation for a system of free public education to be established and maintained. We are not maintaining it. Our kids don't have what they need. And until we have a governor that gets it, you can have a bumper sticker, I want to be top 10, but you got to know how to get there. And we don't have that. So this is part of that answer for me. It's about investing in people and providing sustained support so that we have the people on the team to meet our kids where they are. And a lot of our kids are suffering.
To piggyback on that, and I promise that I'll
Yeah, sure.
We talked in this area recently during some elections about the need for changing our economy, transitioning from an economy of oil and natural gas to a more high-tech, just a more modern, cleaner, stable economy. children to study that stuff. And it's hard to get them to study it and then watch them have to leave the state in order to find a job. How do we attract those companies to come here? How do we get anyone to come here who doesn't just want to drill for oil?
Thank you. You know, I have had some conversations with executives in the oil industry, and there is already talk here in Oklahoma about renewables, about hydrogen, and some retooling. We are an energy state, and we are diversifying. If you look back at where we have been over the last decade, so I think there's been a more diverse approach, and aerospace is another piece to that. There are many other possibilities, but you're not going to get there without broadband all over. You're not going to get there without a strong education. You're not going to have companies coming and attracted to the state to invest in it. And what you see Governor Stitt touting is a $300 million gift to Canoe with a company that has no track record. And we're kind of giving things away without, I mean, there's a lot of risk, right? Imagine if you took that and you invested that in families, in the ability to help those who say home ownership is out of reach, or to invest in healthcare, or invest in after school programs so that a parent can work all the day, the full day, and have the ability to know their kids are taken care of in a loving, caring, safe environment. Homework is being done, and they have a snack. I mean, we have 1 in 4 of our kids have food insecurity. I mean, we have got to face the fact that Oklahoma is ranked 50th in outcomes for women, and everything from health, maternal mortality, to voter participation. Like, we have got to wake up, and we have got to demand more and invest in people. So yes, there are things in the future that might look different from where they are today, but there is so much we can do right now to attract people, and it starts with education, and it starts with the communities rallying around it. Business wants to invest in education. They're telling us that they want that. All right, yes.
My heart is obviously there. My family probably has more than it. Now they don't record, obviously teach it up.
Sure.
And I remember asking my mother that years ago, well, they get paid in that. So, and of course, I saw my sister's contract, and I saw when she, it was a store, which is not a workplace in Lawford, but went across Texas and got a $7,000 raise, and so I used that as pressure with my senators at that, because I've been frustrated for many years about what the Republican Party felt about public education, and I told her, I said, listen, you knew my family, see if I could get the vote of what we did get for raise, but I know what she had to pay for.
Yes.
Out of her own pocket.
Yeah.
And going to art stores are not cheap, but she did that for sure. And so what I'm kind of seeing a little bit of what you talked about is how, and your vision of how we can work the not only the bringing in jobs, but the budgeting process.
Yes.
It has to be in there. When I've talked to them, I say, we need to put that as a priority. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. So the governor sits in the position of power when it comes to the budget negotiations. It's the legislature that forms that budget, but good working relationships with the legislature is how that is done every year. And we need a governor that gets it, that will make that the priority, not other things that sound great on a commercial. It's got to be, we have got to get to the foundation. And so I appreciate you talking about that and reinforcing that. There's a lot of work to do, but I know we can do this. We are seeing things, well, frankly, every day the governor continues to give us one more gift. And we've got some months ahead of us where we know that we are going to see more and more people who say, he's got to go. There's too much at stake. I believe this will be a tipping point for our state. If we do not get this right, our kids are going to suffer, our families are going to suffer, and not just for the next 4 years, it's going to be decades. And we have the chance to swing this pendulum to a place where we have common sense, respect for one another, hard work, and courage. So I appreciate the chance to be with you tonight. Thank you so very much. And it's great to be with you. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and wrap up our meeting here. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Thank you. A second? Yep, here. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Sorry, you lost tonight. So, okay, we will see you guys next month. Please do stop by and see the superintendent. Thank you for coming and speaking with us and ask any of the questions that you didn't get answered yet. Thank you guys for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Oh, yes, school board vote. Yeah, school board, you can vote tomorrow at the election board early if you still need to, or you can vote on Tuesday at your normal polling location. School board election. Sorry, I forgot that, Rebecca. I totally promised and forgot. So. Thank you guys for coming tonight. We appreciate you joining us via Zoom. Have a good night.